Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is Alex, aka Grand Kai, and I am excited to be here. We got a monumental event going down very, very soon, about the middle of May. The King of Iron Mitten. We've got Michigan's best players, the Kings of Michigan, tournament winners, and some of the most solid players around competing in a round robin competition. Now, we're going to break this thing down. We're going to talk about, we got four groups. We got group A, B, C, and D. We got four groups, all with players that have won tournaments in the Michigan Tekken scene. Now, discussing this today with me, I'm super honored to have the curator, the mastermind behind this. We got Neutral Ground TO Keith B, and then we also have commentator extraordinaire and the Maven player, Mr. J. Fellas, what's going on?
How you doing? How you doing?
Yeah, great to be here.
Yeah,
Happy
man.
Saturday to everybody. It was a nice day. Got to enjoy some good food.
Absolutely.
Practice a little bit with Raven again. But yeah, we had first attends yesterday. But biggest topic of discussion right now is the King of the Iron Mitten tournament that we've got going on here. We got 5 groups of players, right? So not 5, 4 groups of 5, right? There's 20 of them. Get my maths right. And we're gonna talk about this.
Yeah, well, they're actually technically, if you think about it, we've got 2 groups to watch on Friday, May 14th, 2 groups to watch on Saturday, May 15th, and then we've got top 8 on Sunday, May 16th. So whoever is the top 2 scoring players in each group will advance to that top 8. So we kind of get like 5 mini tournaments to watch. The format is completely based on like Tekken World Tour Finals or the We Play event in the Ukraine that we were watching. In fact, that's where I got the idea. We were all in voice chat watching it, and we thought it'd be really cool to be able to watch something like that with players here from our local scene. And just really quick to get out of the way, I really need to thank Haitaki Kakashi and Ajur Boka for agreeing to stream this for me. That's a very awesome. They've really been holding it down, especially Hai with streaming his sessions every Wednesday and Thursday and his Friday night first attends. And they're both doing double duty because they're both in the tournament. So,
Man, that's a lot of work that's pouring out between the two of them. In addition to everything else, including this discussion of commentary. I know I've been poked at about doing commentary for it, and I know I'm not the only one. And that's all a lot of work for for people coming together to bring out the best that Michigan has to offer and show the world and all the viewers what can be done.
Yeah, we will be showcasing a lot of the commentary talent here as well, and I'm gonna have different stuff to kind of roll out and showcase those commentators. Today, I really want to talk about these groups. That's what I invited you gentlemen here to do.
Let's talk about it. So we got Group A of the King of Iron Mitten tournament. The Group A is so cleverly named the Don't Whiff Division. Now, Keith, let's talk about this. Now, why did you name this the Don't? I know why you named this, right? But for those who are tuning in who may not know, give them some insight of why you named it the Don't Whiff Division.
So this is like L Train's catchphrase. And if you don't know L Train is pull up the Tekken 7 like chicken frame data app, and if you look under Lars, L Train is the signature player listed there. He is the best Lars player in the United States. He's one of the few high-level Lars players in the world, really. And for the first like year and a half of this game, L Train ran the state. He won like everything. A lot of the other top players weren't coming out yet, and "Don't whiff" is sort of his catchphrase, especially on his stream. He loves to get whiff punished, especially if it's a rage art whiff punish that he can get that kills. That's like what he seeks. He's like a rage art whiff punish like soul vampire, just taking people's souls.
Yeah, L Train is a master. Now we talk about L Train, and I'm sure we'll elaborate on the rest of this. But I wanted to go down the list real quick, if you don't mind. So we have L Train on this list. We just kind of mentioned. Now here's his accolades. Now, winner of UMACon 2018, HSL Finals, Neutral Ground, previous many neutral grounds, I'm sure. Red Bull Rise Detroit, and multiple champion of Southeastern Michigan locals. We also have Enoch, a Huang player, winner of Michigan Masters 2019, neutral ground, multiple champion of Ann Arbor locals. We also got Black Havoc, Black Havoc is a lay main, multiple time champion of Michigan Tekken Session Monthlies. We got Flow God, mains Law, but who also is very, very adept at many other characters, winner of Michigan Tekken Sessions Online Monthly. And we have TJM, who also who was winner of Fight Night Round 2 out in Lansing, Michigan, who mains Yoshimitsu. So those are the players of this division. Now, let's talk about this. Whiffing and being able to punish it is a skill in of itself, right?
Easily takes a lot of time to develop that skill. Because I mean, when you talk about the first levels of learning a character, right? One of the first things you go is, okay, I like this character. And you start learning some of the main moves, transition, poke with, get into a couple of launchers, do some combos. Some people have different methods. Maybe they hit straight to the combos. But the skill of applying the character's tools when another player, right, not even another character, another player misses you in whatever sort of way you created that is a huge factor when you talk about being able to create whiff situations, making your opponent make mistakes. And L Train in this group is one of the most adept at doing that. We've seen Rage Art punishes from him, his whiff punishment with Arc Blast and Orbital through the roof. That is not a man you want to throw a limb out and take a chance on it and whiffing on.
L Train is also a player. He's traveled quite a bit, but before the pandemic, he's got a lot of high placements at major events. A couple years ago, he was third place at Frosty Fausting, I think 2018. Enoch, the second guy on that list, is kind of an unknown player outside of Michigan. Enoch is a Hwoarang specialist, and I think he is a mutant. Enoch got incredibly good at this game in Ann Arbor, not really going to many local events, playing a lot of online, spending a lot of time in the Hwoarang Discord. And very recently, Enoch played a first to 10 with, I don't want to get the name wrong. Mr. J, do you remember this first to 10? It was against one of the 20Z players. I think it was Linux.
I believe it was Linux. It was Linux. Yep. And that was a vicious set.
It was 10-0. Really it was 10-0.
The gravity of it. I mean, just watching it, it was really tough to watch because I've seen Linux play before. We've seen him in big majors, making some big victories against some of the best players in the world. But to watch that set happen really shows you some of the skills and especially the gap that Tekken can have in the upper echelons of high level play. I mean, you could be really good and run into JDCR, but then JDCR run into like Arslan Ash, and you can still see those little minutiae of tiers. So we really got to see that. And you know what? Quite honestly, I would love to see a repeat of that if Linux has put in any work, but I don't know if we ever will. But Enoch, I wouldn't call him a mutant, but the man appeared out of nowhere and just went to work.
These graphics are in seeding order. So L Train, he has the most tournament wins. He has the most placements out of state. So I made him the 1 seed. If I had a fifth group, Enoch would have been a 1 seed, but I didn't. So this group is insane because you basically have 2 1 seeds.
Oh my gosh. So it's like, because you know what? I actually just watched Claymore a whole lot. One of the classic kind of shonen era anime and mangas, and you talk about generational wise, one generation over the others. You've got one generation's number 1 against what would have been another generation number 1, but it's a Gen 2, rank 2.
It reminds me of Afro Samurai. You had to have the number 2 headband to challenge the number 1.
Yeah. Ooh, that's even better. I like that. This kind of creates a little bit of an interesting matchup between the two. So it makes you wonder if L Train, who in the group does L Train firmly has his gaze on as like, okay, I really need to take this person down. I can't, start off, with, a feeler character. I got to hit the ground running.
And I know from having talked to L Train, he does not love playing online. So at the beginning of the pandemic, he was playing a lot of those Shy-Tech tournaments. He was making some top 8s there. He's playing a lot of online tournaments and doing really well. And then he just kind of stopped entering as much because I think partly his play style is so reaction based, it's so movement based. It's hard to do that in if you get a connection from here to Texas, it might be good, it might be not so good. Tekken 7 has got better netcode than it used to, but so I think it's hard to know how good a shape L Train's going to be in coming into this tournament. And also, the next guy on this list, Black Havoc, he managed to beat L Train at YumaCon 2019 in top 8.
That was an upset.
It was. Yeah, it was a big upset. And Grand Kai, I think you said Havoc is a Lei main. He's actually a Kazumi main. And he plays Lei as a secondary.
Really?
Yeah. Kazumi
So he's been expanding his horizons between
Awesome.
Kazumi and Lei. That's a drastically different style of character.
Yeah, it's like the character with the least moves in the game and the character with the most moves in the game, but Havoc,
way, you've got a character that's created upsets, like you said. So you put that kind of X factor into this group, and you could see a lot of mixes up happen. Depending on if an upset occurs or not.
and Havoc is another player who's kind of been MIA during the online tournament era that we're in. So I don't really know what other characters he might have or how much he's been practicing. We've seen him do really well in a couple of first to tens on High's stream recently. Didn't you actually play him, Grand Kai?
Yeah, I played Havoc. Yeah, I played Havoc.
Yeah.
I played in the first to 10 with him and his Kazumi. Absolutely.
So what did you think?
So I like Havoc's playstyle a lot. With Kazumi, of course, it's the standard 1-1 down forward 1 down forward 1 step down forward 1 Kazumi play. Just solid fundamentals. So I didn't feel much of a challenge once I caught on to this game plan, but once that Lei is out, it's over. And it was funny because he mentioned that to me after our set. He's like, I was scared because you were tying everything up, and it was very close to the point where you were beating me with my Kazumi, so I had to pull out Lei. And and once he pulled out the Lei, it's just the tide of the set shifted because there's so much you have to know about fighting that character. So, I'm gonna be interested in seeing how the players in this division handle Havoc's Lei if he happens to pull him out.
And if this was a sports radio show, I would need you guys to hit the siren. But I remember getting food with L Train one time, and he told me how much he likes the Lei matchup and how much he doesn't. He is not tricked at all. He knows how to play it. And he said that like Pepper Beef will hit him up for sets just because he knows he can't get away with any fake stuff against it. So take that for what it is. I don't know.
The classic, you got to punch a wall repeatedly to harden your fists, huh?
Yeah, well, it's interesting too. So now we talk about that, and I'm also interested to see how people are going to react to Flow God. Now, I feel like because Flow God has a number of characters that he can excel with. We just saw him do very well in both of the previous Michigan sessions tournaments, the PS4 and the PC, with multiple characters. What do you guys think about that?
Flow God has been in a character crisis for a long time.
Yeah, I've seen him poke around with, at least 4 or 5 different characters, and I've only really gotten to know the Michigan scene in probably the last 6 months ish. So I'm fairly fresh in it. I'm told I'm adopted, but I'm fairly new with getting. Yeah, I'm fairly new with getting the understanding of where Flow God's mind is in regards to Tekken and his character choices.
He's played a lot of Lydia lately, which I think a lot of people have. He was on a big Anna kick before Lydia came out, and he is traditionally a Law main. I don't know why all the Law players in Michigan end up playing other characters more than Law, but that is the case, and we have like 3 or 4 of them in this bracket.
That's right, and they're all spread out between each one of the groups. Well, actually, 2 of them are not. That would be DD Green and Gay Z, so they may be worse as well.
Flow God, though, is another player who's really on the cusp of taking that step to being a really high-level player. He plays at he does play at a high level. He just hasn't had a lot of the wins at the bigger events. but he did win one of High's monthlies, one of the Tekken Sessions monthlies, and that's how he got in here. And I think he's won a couple smaller tournaments as well. I do think FloGod is kind of a dark horse, especially knowing that maybe L Train is coming into this having not played a lot of online Tekken. I could see a FloGod or a Black Havoc kind of stealing a couple of wins, and if anyone beats Enoch, then it becomes anybody's game. So it could go completely crazy, completely quick.
Yeah, it's more like, you almost want to be on the outer fringes of that bracket, because the middle group of that is going to be so chaotic and practically unpredictable, because it can really go either way between the three of those players.
And then we've got TJM. Yoshi
Absolutely.
main. Yoshi, pretty much a Yoshi lock at this point. He might pick Bears. And he's not here to win. That's not what Yoshi players, that's not their, remember in Uncut Gems, Adam Sandler saying, this is how I win? Yoshimitsu players win by making you look ridiculous. He's here to ruin someone else's tournament.
It is the path of chaos. I mean, you talk about the difference between chaotic evil and chaotic good. I'd put this in the realm of chaotic good.
And TJM is definitely no slouch, though. He's been playing Tekken for longer than I have. I remember he was in those very early Michigan Tekken sessions. He was in the intermediate session, and I was in the beginner session, but we would play, and he would always beat me with Bears. And it took me a long time to be able to get games off of TJM, and he's been, I think he's actually from out in like Kalamazoo, and he's just always a force at any Middle Michigan. If he was in Lansing for a while at Michigan State, he was always a force in those tournaments. He was always going deep, and I think he's probably won more than just Fight Night Round 2. I just didn't have a chance to get a hold of him and get a full list of everything that he's ever been to, but Fight Night Round 2 was kind of the event that qualified him for this.
Yeah, TJM. So he's actually from Lansing, but was in Kalamazoo going to school out there, and then recently come back to Lansing. And one of the things that having conversations with Tim about how he approaches Tekken, he wants to have fun, and he's gonna do the moves that are fun to him. So he's gonna flash you. He's gonna do whatever it's gonna take to make it seem like it's fun for him. It's not going to be fun for you.
And really, putting him in this group is like putting lighter fluid on a bonfire. Yoshimitsu stuff this is first to 2 in these group stages. The top 8's going to be first to 3. These are first to 2. Yoshimitsu could take a first to 2 and make it go very quickly and very in Yoshi's favor, or very quickly and not in his favor, just depending on if that Yoshi player has the right reads, or what kind of mood they're in, or what the opponent knows about Yoshi. We haven't really had a Yoshi player in Michigan for the longest time. And now we have a couple with TJM and a couple other guys who are up and coming playing Yoshi. So I don't expect there's going to be a ton of matchup experience for Yoshi for most of these players.
You'd be surprised. I would, with this at this level, I definitely wouldn't count L Train out, or FloGod, or Enoch, or Havoc when it comes to Yoshi. You'd be surprised. A lot of these things are legacy knowledge, and I think we'd be amiss to think that they wouldn't have the experience. Now, at this point, it would be. I feel like it would be a situation to where you have to have experience against TJM. It's a player thing. But I feel like these guys at this level are going to have that experience. It's just a matter of, can they adapt to how Tim implements Yoshi's game plan.
You could lab Yoshi until you die, and you'd still be finding setups.
Yes, man, that's how I feel about Lei.
Just, you know what? Between those two characters, the biggest factor on making that character shine is how creative are you going to be with that character? Because the more predictable you are with Yoshimitsu, the more predictable you are with Lei, the easier it is to stop all those things. So you have to almost play like you're in some other state, some mental state, whether it's just, you just got to channel yourself into that and change up the pace constantly. You can't always go for the same low. You can't always go for the same mid. And that is something that can shine in any one of these groups. And so Yoshimitsu, I hail from the Ohio area, and we have several Yoshimitsus. We have one that just moved out, who was called Tasty Pee Juice. Yes, that was his name. We got Night Blythe, who plays Yoshimitsu, Sensei Blaze, that comes in through Ohio and Indiana, I think even Michigan as well. So we've got quite a few people that have that Yoshimitsu exposure. So they're out there. They are out there, but it's always a crazy time. You never know what's going to happen.
I just realized I put Lei and Yoshimitsu in the same group, and now I feel bad for Flow God. Flow God, if you're listening to this, you're sitting there realizing all that you have to lab Hwoarang, Yoshi, and Lei.
We talked about the chaotic good. That's more like the chaotic evil. So yeah. I think that's the route we're taking. Hey, listen, it's gonna be good.
My thing is this: stay ready, so you don't got to get ready. That's all it is, especially at this level and at this situation. King of Iron Mitten, stay ready, so you ain't got to get ready. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, and I think we'll see who's the most ready is going to be who makes top 8 in this group. I do expect L Train and Enoch will be the ones to get out.
Based off their experience and, the little discussion we're having on, their resumes, not a full, entire. So, the Cliff Notes version. These two have the most experience in these higher level situations.
No slight to the other players. It's just having played everyone in here, you got to wake up really early to beat those two guys. So those are my picks.
Hey, you got to be sharp. You have to be sharp. I mean, I know Enoch, he's definitely focused on, what he's got going on in real life right now. But this man he knows his stuff. And I'm telling you, he knows his frames, he knows situations, he knows his characters. I'm telling you, you better watch out. Because I recently played against Enoch. I played against him twice. One in a very long set, and then two in just a very short, like 1st to 10 set. And man is sharp, and he will exploit you if you give him the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and his defensive knowledge is a cut above of almost anyone else in the state, except for really those 1 and 2 seed level players. So
absolutely,
I expect him to be very ready for this group, but I also expect any of those other guys could take a game or two and get on run, and if Black Havoc or Flow God or TJM gets hot, then it's going to be really fun to watch. Anyway, Grand Kai, why don't you get us into this next bracket before we just derail this whole conversation?
Absolutely. Let's talk about it. So, King of Iron Mitten, Group B, the Sanduk Division, a.k.a. Stand Up. We've got I-High. We know who I-High is. He is the Michigan sensei, the Tekken trainer. Also, this man is no slouch in tournament. You do not want to see him in tournament. This man is all business, and he'll bust your ass. We got Aesop, winner of multiple neutral grounds. We talked about Aesop a little bit earlier. We've got Footwork. Now, man, I think Footwork's going to be a supercell here, even though we know how strong he is. We've got DD Green, and we also have Gay Z. Let's talk about it, fellas. Now, what do you guys think going into this? Let's talk about I-High for a second.
Well, High is the man. You can see I had to make the font smaller for High. He's won more tournaments than anyone else in the state of Michigan. In fact, I remember at one point in 2019, he told me he won the last 10 tournaments that he went to. He just kind of told me casually.
10 for 10.
He went 10 for 10 in 2019.
If you want to talk about a specific way to characterize this is a group with a dragon at the very top. High is just his Tekken resume is massive, and he traditionally plays as Geese and Jack. He's got just a wide swath of characters he can kind of pull in and out, but those are the main two, and his skills are just they're really what set him apart from most of the country, and it shows in the amount of tournaments and different settings that he's won. It shows how he's coordinating the 1st to 10s and other tournament series he's ran. That is a dragon sitting in this group, and it is not to say anything dismissive about the other 4 players in this group, but that's a dragon at that top.
And High, he tends to win at home. Like, he loves playing in Michigan. He does really well at Michigan events. He's he's so hard to beat. And I remember I beat him one time, and he came back from loser's bracket and beat me. That's like you can't. It's like he's like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Like
he wanted that revenge arc. Yeah, he wanted that revenge arc.
I've always seen High as somewhat of like a Terminator, just like a robot. Like he has a job, and it's to to beat your ass.
And he never tilts.
He's going to execute.
He never smiles when he plays. He wears his jacket all the time.
It's always business.
Hot. He clocks in for these tournaments.
He's got business socks on. Those aren't just moisture wicking. Those are business socks.
He's also. Go ahead, Dougie.
I've never seen High not, even when he plays like side characters or characters that he's learning or something like that. I've never seen him not take someone seriously. Like, I don't know. Like I know me at a certain point, no matter what game I'm playing, I need like a moment where I cannot sweat and stuff. High doesn't. I don't know. He's a robot. I don't even think he has sweat glands. But he's like he's operating at maximum efficiency at all times.
It's actually Grand Kai's fault that he's playing Geese now.
It is my fault, yo, and I apologize. So I was
God,
going through a character crisis, and I don't mind mentioning this. And High is one of my Tekken coaches, and so on a private tip, so I was asking High for tips on Geese, and we played some sets, and he ended up liking Geese, and I switched to Brian, and now you guys are getting terrorized by High's Geese.
So none of this would be happening if Grand Kai had just picked Brian sooner.
Oh my gosh, we have the origin story of the Terminator in this group.
And you're not the only one who High has coached. High has really put more into the local community than anyone with his beginner sessions, his intermediate sessions. Now he does the PC sessions. Let's talk about Aesop. And Dougie, you've been around the scene longer than anyone, and I think you probably remember some. Aesop really started with, like, was it Tekken 6 or Tag 2?
I recall when I started coming around, I feel like it was Tekken 6. He was definitely around for all of Tekken Tag 2. But that's Tekken Tag 2 is when he really started like making a lot of noise, and then seeing him transfer from Tekken Tag 2 to Tekken 7, when I started really paying attention. That's when I realized like his hard work was starting to really show. After watching him beat some of the top players in our scene, like L Train and Rodney and stuff like that, like people who I thought were just like bordering on untouchable, like he was giving them a lot of problems. So actually, with that being said, Aesop is kind of my dark horse for this group, because I mean all the other players are very strong, and I think High is probably the strongest player, but Aesop has he just has kind of like the it factor. Like he kind of just turns it on, and his clutch is just it goes crazy. I've seen him make a lot of things happen out of really bad situations, and I think personally he's my favorite out of this group. Actually,
it's interesting you said whatever character he plays, because I was talking to Mr. J before the show, and Mr. J didn't even realize Aesop's a Bob main because he never picks Bob.
Yeah, the only exposure I've ever had to Aesop been against Miguel, and in my encounters with that, it's been a mixed bag, where he's actually just completely dominated me, really kind of dictated the pace, knew when to be aggressive, when to go for savage stances, and really just kind of put the mix up on me with it, and then this last time I took some time to work some adjustments into my gameplay and reapproach the Miguel matchup, and it was still a tough time. He is a very strong player. It's not one that you want to not take seriously. You really have to have your homework on the character, because if he sees something that you're not blocking properly, he will continue to abuse that until you do.
And Aesop, he was in grand finals of Yumicon 2019 against Jackie Tran, and he got there playing Claudio the whole way, who he had been playing for like a week. And I think Azure told him, "Hey, you should play Claudio." I know he got third place. I think it was D-Town's King who was in grand finals. That's right. But Aesop got third place, I believe.
Awesome. Let's move on to footwork. Let's talk about it. 313 footwork. What are we thinking, guys?
Now, I want to kind of preface this because Tekken is not the only game that I've seen Footwork play at an extremely high level. I My exposure to Footwork was watching him play Mortal Kombat 10, MKX, which is the game that its existence is way beyond anybody's radar right now, but still it's a slightly active community. But even in that game, the high level exposure he was getting. I mean, he was encountering the likes of Sonic Fox, Scar, handful of other players in the Mortal Kombat scene, and then here he is now in Tekken 7, working with a very strong background of multiple fighting games and being at a high level, winning championships. If there's anybody who I think is got that X factor, kind of dark horse factor, I put my dollar on Footwork for that. That is a man that has really played and had a lot of exposure to just fighting games in general.
For sure. Keith, what are your thoughts on footwork? And of course, we don't want to pass it to Dougie after Keith because I'm excited to hear both of you guys' takes on this guy. And he is a master at, like you said, just to echo you, Mr. J, he is a master at fighting games. And he's also been through the gauntlet coming up the ranks. So what you guys think? Keith, go ahead first.
Footwork is the only player I know of in the entire world who can play Tekken as a side game and win tournaments at any level. And like he plays every fighting game in existence at high level. You could pick any trash game on Steam, like Nitro plus Blasters, whatever trash anime game. Sorry if you like that game. And not only would Feet have a main, he would be willing to money match you in it. And he would want to immediately because he's super competitive. And I think it's the mindset that Footwork has and just his rudimentary skills and his fundamentals transfer from game to game. And like All Caps made a comment once that I think was very telling on Footwork is like, you're not playing the game when you fight against Footwork. You're playing against Footwork. He imposes his game plan no matter what game it is. And you look at the characters he plays, Brian, Negan, Fakumram. He's got big plus frame long range buttons on every single character, and that's what he likes to do is start offense from mid range and frame trap and play a counter hit game, and he does it. He plays M. Bison in Street Fighter V. I don't know who he plays, and plays like Mortal Kombat players are crazy. They play like 20 characters, so and I don't follow those
Right
games.
now he's running. Right now he's running with Shiva mostly.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, but yeah, like it's just they and like Fakumram and Negan are like tailor made for Footwork. They have exactly what he likes to do in fighting games. So I think having iHigh, Aesop, and Footwork in one group is I had to put Footwork somewhere, and the only reason he's not seated higher is because he hasn't won as many tournaments as some of the other players. The only reason he hasn't won as many tournaments is because he plays 100 fighting games. Everyone else plays Tekken pretty much exclusively. So this is a bloodbath. This group is a bloodbath. I don't even feel good about it. I'm glad I'm not in it. I feel bad for everybody in this group because every single game is going to just be fighting for your life.
Dougie, what about you? Love to hear your thoughts on Footwork.
After playing Footwork in multiple games over the years, Footwork's talent is it goes without saying how talented he is at fighting games. Even like playing with him in Tekken, the other various games, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, even Dragon Ball. He one defining factor that he's always had in the games that he plays is you really can't tell him to stop doing whatever the hell he wants to do. So, and he's very hyper aggressive. He knows how to kind of impose his will upon you. Like Keith was saying earlier, you kind of have to really force him out of that to beat him, and that's extremely difficult to do. With that being said, I think he has I think he also has a really good chance of doing well. But my only concern is actually because he plays so many games, it's kind of like putting all your eggs in like different baskets. Like there's no real focus anywhere. I would, granted, he's very good at every game he plays, but I think in this game in particular, High being a pretty much exclusive Tekken player, Aesop also pretty much exclusively only playing Tekken, and even I believe Gazy only plays Tekken as well, and D Green has experience in just 3D games in general. I think he's going to definitely be fighting, but it's funny that Keith mentioned that they're basically going to be slugging it out with each other. That's just footwork is going to make you fight regardless of who you are. So I mean, I hope that everyone in this bracket is prepared for his energy. He's really exciting and explosive to watch. He's really entertaining, and he's really creative as well.
That is 100% facts. In the short time that I've been able to play footwork in Tekken, you can't be timid against him. You have to be confident. You have to know your buttons. You have to know your timing, and just go for it. Because if not, like you said, you guys been saying, it's the truth. He will oppress you and not think twice. Moving on, let's go to DD Green.
I've been watching DD Green in these tens, and he's got a gear shifter, and I've seen it go in a few different ways that kind of rival some of the stronger talent in this entire group, and then other times where things just don't connect the way they want to go for him. But when he starts really getting warmed up, the man can just put in work against any of his opponents. So it's going to come down a lot to the mindset he brings into it, making sure that he stays on top of his punishment game, polishes up with what moves he's been practicing, which he's been putting in a lot of work. I've watched him play, not just in the Michigan scene, but I've seen him in other online tournaments as well. So the man has the capacity to play at an extremely high level. But this is going to be really cracking the sky with the likes of other players in this group with footwork, Aesop, High, Gazy, another member that plays a lot with DD Green as well. So that'll be a fun match to see those two play as well.
Yeah, DD Green and Gazy have had kind of a rivalry. They're both on Team Splash. They both play Law. And I think DD Green is the stronger player, but Gazy has had his number in multiple first to tens. I think he's got the winning record there.
What's interesting that you mentioned that, because if I can give a little bit of analysis here, I know that I'm the host, but whenever I've watched a set between DD Green and Gazy, it has always come down to tilt. Who has been tilted the most and who can control it better? It always comes down to that. Either game 6 or game 5, something might happen where DD Green has a huge life lead and Gazy's at a pixel at Harada Care, and he pulls that rage drive that Law has, or he does just a wonderfully placed Cali roll, and DD Green will get tilted, and the next game it just goes down from there. So it's interesting to see. And if these two, I don't know how you got the bracket set up, but if these two go head to head, I would think they will anyway. But when they go head to head, I feel like it's going to be really, really interesting to see if these guys can contain their tilt against each other, because there is so much of a rivalry there between those two.
Yeah, and these groups are round robin, so every single player is going to have to play every single player.
Yep, gotcha.
I do want to talk about Gazy, but the one thing about DD Green before we move on is really the only thing that holds him back is that he's kind of a choke artist. He'll either get tilted, or he even jokes. He calls himself "Damn Drops Green" because he'll drop those DD those Law combos with the legend kick at the end. He'll miss that legend kick ender, and then it gets downhill. But other than that, he's got everything else that he needs to make top 8 in this event. So it really just comes down to him.
And he's got to stop calling him. I know it's a trope and it's a meme, but words have power, and he's got to stop calling himself "damn drops."
Yeah, and I think that
calling himself damn delivers or something. You know what I mean?
I'm a big DD Green fan. I think he's a really fun player to watch. I always say he brings the Verde sauce with his Law, because he does a lot of moves that you really don't see Laws outside of Rip do.
Let's talk about Gazy. Keith, would you mind starting for Gazy? Let's talk about him.
Gazy. I remember Gazy. He started showing up, and he was the craziest Law player I had ever met. And I beat him so many times in tournament, just so many times. He was, but Gazy's gotten a lot better, and he's actually switched to maining Chloe. He still plays Law as a secondary. He doesn't really feel that Law is the best character for him. He has a solid Chloe. He's one of Azure Boca's disciples, the Chloe master of Michigan. And we have a lot of lucky Chloe players up here because of him. And Gazy, he plays at a pretty high level now. He's really solid. He's another one of those players who has a lot of fun playing the game. I love playing Gazy on his stream. He'll be talking the whole time, and he can be really tough to beat if he's on point. He's got really good back four placement with Chloe, really good timing. He's really honed in on some high level skills. His punishment's not bad either. His whiff punishment is excellent. He is going to be fighting for his life in this group. This is they're all death groups. This is even more of a death group. And I'm sorry, Gazy. Someone had to be in this group. It was you.
Gazy, man, you're gonna have to you have to bring something special, bro, and I know you got the capacity to do it.
And with that being said, we're going to move on to the King of Iron Mitten Group C, the bottom 5 division. So aptly named because of D-Town's King constantly claiming that Nina is bottom 5.
She's not.
Let's talk about it. I'd love to hear Mr. J's thoughts on D-Town's King.
D-Town's King is a old cat, first off. And with that, as a Tekken player, comes a certain level of style, of respect and disrespect, and probably one of the biggest and strongest components of D-Town Kings' game, the mental aspect. This man is constantly calculating moves, constantly watching how you react to situations and making adjustments based off of what you're doing in that match. This man is always looking at the data. And with that, for somebody who has an older mindset, he's going to start exploiting any weakness you have whatsoever. If you're kind of little iffy on throw breaking, he's going to test you. You're not really watching your ankles, he's going to start booting at him, right? That the man is very crafty. And for much as he talks about Nina, he's a savage with this gameplay. It's almost surgical. So out of all of this group here, he's the one that kind of stands at the top of this group and really just kind of demands respect.
Dougie, let's hear it.
D-Town is kind of like, I consider him kind of one of my personal OGs. Him and I like talk whenever we're at locals all the time. I kind of look up to him in a way because like Mr. J said, like he has just that old school, that very raw, very direct play style, and he's really, especially with Nina, it's like he's been playing her for so long that every decision he makes is leading to another decision, which leads into another decision, and you have to be ready for it. He's so good at adapting on the fly and changing up his game plan. And like you said, he just picks you apart. He makes you feel useless. Like you just sit there and you just get Nina, and it's frustrating. Like what do you like? What do you do? She's doing all this. She's laying all these plus frames on you. She's mixing you up, and then she carries you to the wall, and then you die, and then you're like, what happened? Like, how did we get here? He's a very, very strong contender, and I do like I do kind of like seeing the wisdom in how he plays. Like you can kind of take something from when he plays, which I think is also a very good thing that I've seen out of Rodney. He's so insightful. Even he doesn't have to say anything. He just has to hit you. But yeah, that's my thoughts on D-Towns.
Hey, all right. Keith, your thoughts on D-Town's King?
Little bit of stats. I mentioned that High is probably one of the most tournaments at home in Michigan. I mentioned that L Train pretty much had a lock for almost the first year and a half of this game. D-Town's King is unique because he's got the most placements. He tends to do the best of any of the Michigan players in like top 64 of majors. He's usually the highest placing player when he does travel. He works. He's an older player. He works a job where he travels around the country. He doesn't get to travel as much for fighting games as I'm sure he'd like to, but he does really well against international competition. But he's also like the best range zero player I've ever seen. Like I remember playing casuals. He was helping me with Master Raven actually, because he is a Raven player as well. And he got bored, so we switched to secondaries. I was playing Kazumi a little bit, and he was playing Katarina. And I thought, oh, Katarina's super linear. but I couldn't sidestep anything that he was doing because everything he had so much data from that set that everything he did, he knew exactly when I'd sidestep. He would hide micro dashes. He'd step with me. He would delay his buttons, but he does it so naturally and so organically that you don't even realize he's just hitting you. He's also the neutral ground that he won was one of our big dojo events. It was a 65 or 66 man bracket. This is a guy who likes big stages. He tends to suffer more when he has to play random players using characters he's not familiar with, like crazy intermediate level players going party time. He doesn't like party styles, but he doesn't have to deal with that here. So I think D-Town's King is going to be very successful.
I love those. I love those analysis of D-Town's Kings for sure. And yeah, he can't say enough about him. So let's move on to the Prince, I would say, the Prince of Michigan Tekken here. Let's talk about Doomed Danny. Keith, let's talk about him.
I think you just broke Lemon's heart calling Danny the Prince of Michigan Tekken. But...
Oh, yeah. He is going to let you.
Let's go. Tell him to run the set.
Doom Danny. Whew, he has gotten so good in this just a span of a couple years. Because like when he first started showing up, he was just like this crazy Lucky Chloe player, and he would beat a lot of people. He was like a little bit better than a lot of our players, and then he got a lot better than most of us very quickly. Danny, he is very frustrated with Lucky Chloe. Lucky Chloe is kind of a weird, gimmicky, kind of janky character to use at high level. And he's played a lot of Zafina. He's played a lot of Anna. In fact, the tournament that he won against iHigh was with Anna. And he also plays Brian. That's a heck of a suite of characters to be playing at the level he plays. And he also he won the Scrub Cup, which was a 2v2 tournament that he won like $2,000 for.
Yeah,
this guy has won big tournaments. Yeah. And he's gotten so good in such a short span of time. It's going to be really scary having him and D-Town's King in the same division.
Dougie, what are your thoughts on Danny?
So Danny, to me, is kind of like sort of like the antithesis of D-Town's. Like Danny's like younger than me, right? He's like just turned 21 or something like that. Or
yeah,
20,
I think he can legally drink now.
That's funny.
We went and got alcohol for our hotel room, and then Danny tells me that he's like 19 or something, and I'm like, oh shit, I just bought a minor booze. Great. But yeah, Danny's young.
Yeah, Danny's young, but I think for one, being young gives him somewhat of an advantage. Being young, he technically should out of this whole group have like the fastest reaction, snapshot decisions. Like he should have that on lock. And I've seen it happen. I've seen the way he moves. His movement is insane. I've definitely seen his growth ever since he started coming around. Like he's pretty sick. I also think that he's kind of evolved out of I get that, he loves Lucky Chloe, that's who he made his name with, but I think his play style over time, with how much better at the game he's gotten, it's evolved away from that character. So I think, I don't know, maybe it's like we're about to start seeing a different Danny really soon. He's
not a party player anymore. He doesn't. Yeah, he can, but that's not his thing.
Yeah, he like watching him play. I watched, very occasionally watch some of his streams where he'll be playing Brian or Zafina or something like that, and he's just using his understanding of the game and moving around and just taking you down, picking you apart, whether it be offensively, defensively. He's so much more evolved and definitely honed his fundamentals as a player a lot more over the years. So I think Doom Danny is in Doom Danny does have some he does kind of like make a little stir sometimes, very occasionally in the community with as I noticed that you put a different player in the bracket that he's kind of had some history with, but we can get to that later. But like he definitely has a very I'm trying to find the word for it, like a very manipulative kind of play style. Like he kind of just gets under your skin. He presses all your buttons, and then you just get frustrated, and you're like, and then he steamrolls you. It's pretty fun to watch.
Definitely not a slouch to kind of applying mind games into the game. And just like what you were saying, Dougie, he's really come to his own as a player, because watching him, how he used to initially play Lucky Chloe, it was bonkers. I mean, he was making young man reads. He was really kind of just showing that he could whiff punish at will, that he was having optimal punishes, blocking, and really getting throw breaking down, and really making a splash versus some very tough competition here in the Michigan area and in the United States. And then as he's gone forward, that's when we've seen him kind of expand out to Brian and several other characters, and really kind of exploring his own style. And it's turned into something much different than what we've seen before. So I'm very excited to see how he does in this group. He could very well make the top run out of this and walk away in the top spot.
One of the things I want to point out about Danny real quick is he almost beat Double in bracket at Evo.
Yeah, he was like last game, last round, right?
Yes, it was a hella good set. I mean, he came back, right? He got beat pretty convincingly the first game, and then he came back, and I was like, let's go. So Danny, he is a wonderful Tekken player.
Yeah, this group has, with D-Towns and Danny, you have two players who do really well on the big stage. And then we have Duke.
Oh boy.
Let's talk about it. Craft Boy Duke. Dougie, let's take this.
You gotta bring us into this topic, Dougie, of Duke.
Duke is the most hilarious and entertaining player I've ever seen come out of Michigan ever. Like, bar none. Like, every time Duke is on the sticks, I am crying laughing. Just because he kind of, he kind of comes off as just, a kind of a casual sometimes. He's like, oh, the game's cheating. Oh, damn. Like, he's just being goofy. But when it comes down to it, he's like, when he gets serious, oh, he's a threat. He's a super big threat. Like, he operates mostly on like raw instinct. Like, he doesn't seem to be very like strategic. That's not saying like that's a bad thing. It's just he just goes in and he plays with his heart. He plays with his chest, and it does really well, and it throws a lot of people off because he also has kind of one of those more unorthodox play styles, and it works for him really well. So, and then he can play quite a few characters. Duke being his main, Marduk being his main, and he can also play Jack. That was who he's playing before.
The big
Marduk
boys.
came back. So he plays big. He plays generally big body characters. And he's just sometimes it's surprising to see certain things come out of him, because like he has these random explosive moments of just pure genius, and he's definitely a wild card here. He can do a lot of damage in this bracket.
Duke could go 5-0, and he could also go 0-5.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised either way. I have two tournament stories about Duke. One is back when we were playing our local in Southfield at the bowling alley. It was a very early Tekken 7 tournament, and this is when nobody could beat L Train. I wasn't even a Tekken player. I was a Street Fighter player, but I was watching because it was just L Train and Duke playing winners finals, and it was getting really heated, and he landed like a debug, and he beat Train, and he popped off, and he was talking all this trash, and everyone's like, Duke, it's first to 3. He only won 2 games. So Duke sits down, beats L Train a third game, and pops off again, and then goes on to win the tournament. I have never seen anyone do the early pop-off and actually win, and that's why I think Duke might actually be a god. And the other story is he played a now infamous money match with Doom Danny, where Danny beat him, doing crazy Lucky Chloe, like whiff sidestep 4 at range 2 into Cali roll, and Duke had been talking for weeks about how Lucky Chloe was his gimmick character and Danny's trash. Why are we letting Danny beat us? And then he showed up, loses the money match. They play in tournament, I think the same night, and then they end up playing in like losers semis or losers finals. I don't remember what it was. They put money on the PS4 stream setup and did a money match of their tournament set. And I'm sitting there. I'm the tournament organizer. We have this nice new venue, LFG in Royal Oak. The owner's looking at me like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I don't know. Just ignore it." I'm like, everyone's screaming. It was great. It was great. It all worked out, and I think Danny won both those sets. So
Yeah, I believe Danny won both those sets. But I think it also goes to show that his competitiveness is kind of what makes him so exciting to watch. Like even though he lost to Danny both those times, like he was just so determined. He was so like I'm coming from a standpoint of seeing him kind of be in a really jokey kind of like fun mood all the time. But for him to like get serious, it was just like, man. And then just to see his reaction when he's playing, and like he's a very animated player too. It's a whole thing. It's a spectacle. He's insanely fun to watch. I love watching dude.
That's awesome. That's awesome, y'all. So let's talk about Jab the Dude. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with Jab, he is from Midland and an Armor King player. Keith, would you like to elaborate a little bit on Jab?
Jab is actually a Lily main by legacy. He's played the game since I think he started with Tekken 6 and got serious in Tag 2, and he really had no one to practice with. So he just played a lot of online, and he became a very high-level player from just playing online. He's had multiple tournament sets in grand finals against Azure Boca. Azure likes to go up to some of those Middle Michigan tournaments in the summertime, just probably because I think he likes the area and the events. But Jab has definitely been the king of that region for a long time. He's won some of those Grand Rapids events and on the west side of the state, Traverse City stuff. So he's played with that side of the state as well, and hasn't really been around in Southeast Michigan yet. No one's really played him unless you've played him in casuals online during the pandemic, because I never even knew who he was until a couple months ago. He like messaged me on Discord, was looking for sets, and I was like, wait a minute, why is this Armor King player so good? Like, who is this guy?
Jab is good. Jab is good, y'all. Jab really is good.
Yeah, I've actually ran into him online as well, against his Armor King and his Lily. And on other people's streams, they've encountered him and been like, who is this guy? This is definitely a cat that is kind of been operating the shadows, right? You know, you hear a lot of the stories about online players not being able to transition their skills into an offline scenario. But Jab definitely has shown he's got the skills developed from it, and definitely has the capacity to make gods bleed. So do not sleep on Jab the Dude.
Absolutely. Dougie?
I'm gonna be honest. I've never seen Jab the Dude play. I don't know anything about Jab the Dude. So
that's fine. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool.
But I will say, as a former Armor King main, I think I like Jab the Dude.
His Armor King is fun to watch, but it's not fun to watch you lose to him.
He now listen, and I once again I'll pitch my 2 cents in here. Jeff is gonna surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, no one's gonna be ready.
Yeah.
They're not gonna be ready for this, man. And and one thing I like about Jab is, because I play multiple sets with him online, and it's just so much fun. He has a clutch factor that I have never seen before. Like his demeanor at end of round situations when both opponents are enraged is just crazy. So I am super excited to see Jab in this setting. Let's talk about. Sorry, go ahead.
The only thing I was going to add to that is he kind of reminds me of Foot with that. He just he doesn't stop. Like the gameplay stays on. He still maintains composure, but there's still a level of aggression to it sometimes where you're like, wow, you're really not gonna ease up in these final moments. Oh, okay, I got to deal with that now.
One thing that I think we haven't talked about yet that is kind of interesting in regards to Jab is Jab likes to play a very compact style. He plays a lot of down forward ones, a lot of movement, and he doesn't necessarily contest that much when he's defending. He plays a little more like you think of like quote unquote like proper Tekken, Korean style Tekken kind of stuff. Not to say that he never presses on it, because all good players will contest if you don't frame trap them. But the Southeast Michigan style has developed, is very button heavy on defense. It's a region where you have to frame trap people or you will get counter hit. And we have a lot of our top players are very stubborn. D-Town's King, High. We'll get to all caps in a bit. Footwork. All these guys who have been so dominant for so long. Even Danny has picked it up, having kind of come up here, is very aggressive defense. And we don't necessarily play the same style of Tekken that people are used to seeing. But Jab having developed separate from that, he has a more compact style. He has a more turtley style sometimes. It'll be interesting to see how that interacts with people who are more influenced by the Detroit Tekken scene.
Let's talk about Majin Joseph. Mr. J, would you mind elaborating on breaking down Majin Joseph?
That is a Gigas player through and through. That man has been putting in the work with his fists and been a player that I've seen bits and pieces of on the smaller local online scenes, and pretty active on Twitter as well, putting a lot of clips in. You can see him practicing and getting his work in when he can. This is not just a little pup. This is a bear that's walking in here.
Absolutely. Dougie, Majin Joseph.
I actually have watched a little bit of Majin Joseph. For one, I always respect people who play like characters like Gigas, just that don't get a lot of play. Because those characters take an immense amount of work to be strong with, and seeing him put so much work in, just pretty much I've only ever seen him play Gigas. I don't even know if he plays any other characters, but I think that level of dedication, especially with him playing Gigas, he's gonna know a lot more things that other players might not be ready for. I think Duke might give him a little bit of a hard time, because I do recall Duke playing a little bit of Gigas as well, even if it was just casually. But I think he's definitely got a lot to bring to this table.
I actually play Joseph fairly often. And I remember going up to Lansing almost a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now, and there was this Gigas player on Hitbox, and I remember I beat him with Akuma, and like his Hitbox wasn't working right, and I was like, man, I hate Gigas. And then he came back. I remember seeing he was always in grand finals of those Lansing tournaments with Gay Z, and then he beat All Caps. And then they had the money match with All Caps and Footwork and Joseph. And after that, he lost those money matches. And something happened to Majin Joseph. He went Majin. Like, he got the Dragon Ball Z Hyperbolic Time Chamber power up, because he just became a different player. All of a sudden, he was making these reads on lows that I'd never seen him read before, like low parrying stuff, like very consistently. His timing is excellent. He has amazing whiff punishment and like kind of a keep out first approach to the game. And last time I played him in tournament, he picked Heihachi against me, and I ended up losing to him. His Heihachi is actually pretty solid. He's got good execution, being a hitbox player. And I'm a hitbox player too, so don't send me hate mail. But yeah, I think you could see the Gigas, you could see the Heihachi. He's got a couple other characters. I don't think they're as tournament ready as those, but I expect he might pick Gigas for this, just because it's kind of an exhibition and people want to see the big red man come out.
For sure. Hey guys, wonderful breakdowns of this, guys. That's Group C, the Group C division. Now let's move on to the last division of the King of Iron Mitten tournament, Group D, the Are You Ready division. Let's break this one down, because this is a spicy group, starting with the man himself, Azure Bouquet. Let's break this down. Dougie, let's break it down.
Azure draws a lot of similarities to one of my teammates, White Beast. Very smart, strategic, scientific approach to the game. Like when I remember talking to him about like how he labs the game and how he goes through all the options, and it's insane what the how like how much his lab work is paying off. He's just excellent, just overall at the game with either with Chloe or Kunimitsu. He's he knows literally like I remember I was actually playing him the other day on his stream. And I was getting whip punished in places where I didn't know I could get whip punished. He was ready for like scramble situations where there's a bunch of random stuff kind of going on, and he's just reacting. He's ducking, block punishing, just ready for anything. He's like the epitome, I think, of what it means to be like a strong player, a strong Tekken player. He just has everything down on lock, and it's always a pleasure to watch him play. Even like when because he also doesn't necessarily subscribe to the the Southeast Michigan sort of style of play of being like hyper aggressive on defense. He doesn't really do a lot, and he's so good at just kind of picking his spots and maneuvering around you. He's a very slippery opponent as well. It's like I was having a very hard time trying to just land a hit on him the other day when we were playing. He's so knowledgeable. What more can I say? Azure is just if Azure get into top 8, I owe somebody some money or something like that. That'd be pretty messed up. I can't see a world in which Azure doesn't get top 8.
Azure is a player that I've watched come up from the offline scene into the online scene, and just kind of from the get-go was just extremely good at playing Tekken and understanding the deeply fine points of the game that a lot of people don't get to until they're at like year 4, year 5 of their time into Tekken. And really, when you talk about it, Dougie got a little bit on this. The way the man approaches labbing this game, he could write an entire Bible on ways to approach it with every single character. I mean, definitely somebody who has the potential to go into a sensei role. I'm really astute in his study of the game. I mean, he's not just a student of the game. He practically lives and breathes it. And his position in this group, you could certainly say he's at the top of this list, but this group in general, the Are You Ready division, this is the Are You Ready, because this group is just a complete side of hell. All 5 of these players are extremely good. I mean, you can't really go on this line and go down there and being like, man, it's Uncle Caps. No, that's Uncle Caps. Stay Real Chill. Man, it's Stay Real Chill. No, Shinigami, same thing. Senpai Relax. Senpai Relax is another player that's had multiple encounters with Azure. And there have been times where Azure's came on top, but lately, Senpai has been coming into his own versus this man. So none of these competitors in this group are like small fish. They are all capable of putting up a fight amongst each other. And Azure being at the top of that list is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because the other 4 players here, they're keenly aware of who Azure is and what he's about. They're going to be gunning for this man.
And Senpai and Azure play a hell of a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Senpai is another one of Azure's kind of disciples. Although Senpai doesn't really play Chloe that much. He does play Kunimitsu. But Azure Boka, there's 2 things I want to point out about Azure Boka. One, he is originally... he's a legacy Tekken player, but he's never played Tekken competitively. He was a DOA player and a Soul Calibur player, mostly. Going back, for years and years. And he really never traveled to tournaments that much. He got really good at the game sitting in his bedroom and playing online and thinking about the game and talking about the game too. I think he had a couple close friends who were also playing a lot. And that's why I think he's another mutant, just like Enoch and Jab and all these people who can get good just hanging out by themselves. The other thing about Azure Boka, he's the only player from Michigan who's won a major event out of state when he won Naptown Clutch 2019. No one else has been able to do it. So that's a big feather in his cap, and it's also a big target on him, because I think, just like Mr. J said, everyone's going to be looking for him and gunning for him. But he's been grinding the game so hard. He's better now than he's ever been. He's had all those ICFCs. He's beaten guys like Joey Fury, Bing Chang. He's just going around slaying all of his demons, who are some of the best players in the country. And Dougie, you mentioned Azur's kind of a turtley player, but he's even, because of having to play against Bing Chang and Joey Fury, he's forced himself to become more aggressive and have a variety of play styles to utilize. And I just
Yeah, I feel like those type of players, the Joey Furies and whatnot, those are the players that kind of know that they can get away with a little bit more because they're more known. Like they've excuse me, they've been around for so long. They know all the things, so they kind of take liberties that other players normally wouldn't. So I think that like you said, it kind of forced him to like, okay, I'm not gonna let him just get away with this goofy tactic anymore. Like I have to swing here. I have to pick my shots, and that contributes to his surgical, scientific, methodical way of playing. He's just so you can see kind of like you can see the map when he plays, like the kind of like being constructed as he's playing. I love watching Azure play. Azure, if you listen to this, train me, man. Help me become like you.
just ask him for games. Azure plays like literally everyone in the Michigan Tekken Discord.
Yep.
And
Say less.
The one thing I don't like about Azure is he will beat the living shit out of you. Just like 15, 20 to 1, 20-0. And then he'll be like, oh, thanks. You're so good at the game. I just learned so much from playing you. And that's just like, it's so disheartening because I can't even be mad at Azure for beating me. At least if he talks trash, I could hold it against him.
The thing about Azure is that's so genuine, though. He really means it. And that's the cool thing about it, is that he will say, like, I'm sure we all have played him, and I'll play him, and I'll get one game on him, or I'll get 2 games on him. And those games were probably the hardest I've ever fought in my life in Tekken. But he'll press me and say, hey, man, that was really tough. Like, I had a hard time figuring out what you wanted to do. And then proceed to body me 20-0, right? But he embodies that I can learn from anybody, and I want to always be challenging myself.
But don't be fooled, because he's also told me that like he's salty he lost a round.
Big facts.
Like
Big facts.
he'll lose a round to you, and then he'll lab that situation in every conceivable way and have like 20 answers for it next time.
Yeah, he puts a lot of pressure on himself, which I mean is kind of like it's partially why he's so strong. Like that dedication, just that shows in his gameplay, but that also can kind of be his downfall. He kind of gets hung up on minor, like very, very minor aspects about the game, and that could kind of take him out of the game, which is my only real worry. But he's so experienced that I think he'll be fine. I think he's more than prepared for the situation. Especially, I've been watching his streams lately. He's been playing like almost every day, going kind of ham. Like he's just Azure's just, man. What more can I say? To be honest with you.
I think that's a thorough breakdown of Azure here in this list. Let's go to Uncle Caps. Let's start it off, Dougie, man. Let's start it off.
Yeah, what can you tell us about Caps that hasn't already been said?
How long have I been?
Shout out Caps.
I've been in this community since like 2011 or something like that. I've been around a long time, and you can't escape Caps. Like Caps is just, he's also very talented in multiple games, and he kind of like he's probably the most casual out of this entire list, but don't get it twisted. He's very capable of probably 5-0, probably going 5-0. He's also like kind of like Duke. Like he could either go 0-5 or he can go 5-0. You can't play around with Caps, no matter how little or how much he plays. And when he gets serious, it looks really tough. Like I've seen him take out some of the best players in our community. You know what I'm saying? Like when he anchors down and he really like plays, he's a threat. He's a serious threat. And it also having like a kind of unorthodox play style. It all kind of factors in. He's also a very energetic player, and he's such a cool guy. So Caps and he has multiple characters he can bring to the table too. He plays Josie, Julia, Paul. Like he has tricks up his sleeve, and so he's kind of like a random select. Like you just kind of see another character like,
The
oh
thing
snap,
about
you're
his
playing
play style is it almost doesn't matter who he picks. He'll
right.
pick a
It's
character for one move because half of what he does is like 1-2 jab and then do nothing and see what you do. And he's just so good at conditioning and playing mind games and just like 3D fighting game poking. And he does it in such a unique way. Like he'll play Kazuya just for down forward 2. Like he'll pick Julia just for Party Crasher.
and he'll land it every
Yeah,
time.
he'll do Party Crasher 30 times in a first to 2, and he'll beat you, and you're so frustrated afterwards.
I've never seen somebody land that like so many death fists in my life. Like
I was
it's
just
kinda
about to say, when are we going to bring up his paw play? It's like his paw play literally reminded me of a bulldozer the first time I played it. I was like, I can't, what am I supposed to do? Like he would read anytime I try to set up something, sidestep into it. It's a classic thing, but to do it repeatedly, most players, you get used to that. But he had a really strong foundation, and he continues to be that way because I've watched him do his several first to tens and put a whooping on his last opponent using Julia, taunting and key charging. This man feeds off of energy as he plays. So if there's anybody that, like you said, could pull a jab sort of mentality and either go 0-5 or 5-0, look no further than Uncle Caps.
And here's the thing, Caps is a good dude, like through and through. He's a good dude. And one of the first neutral grounds that I had a chance to go out to, because Caps, because as most folks don't know this, actually, Caps and Rodney were one of the first people to come out to Lansing to support Fight Night, which is our series of events that we threw. It was one of our first forays into the FGC. But Caps and Rodney came out to check out Fight Night Round 2 and supported it. So I appreciate that from them. But I remember coming to neutral ground, and me, because I'm competitive, I was a lowly Heihachi main, and I was like, let's go, put $20 up, Caps. And he picked Paul, and I should have known right there. I should have known right there, but long story short, I don't have $20 anymore from that set. And but such a great dude, man. And yeah, he if he gets into your head, it's a wrap. Game over. Call him Professor X. It's gone. It's done.
I think another unique trait about Caps is that he has like kind of a strategy for every different level of play. So like he can see a new player, and it's just he knows you're new. He can smell the green on you. He just and that's when he just kind of takes his liberties and just has fun. But it's a teaching moment. It's to get you frustrated, to get you worked up. You're like, oh my God, he's doing all this stupid stuff. I don't know what to do about it. Blah blah blah. Then you go back home and then you do a little better. And he's like, oh okay. And then he notices your progress. Then he turns it up a little bit. He has a really good understanding of how to control how much he gives to you. So it allows you to learn. And he can also use that same thing against high level players. He can do something completely stupid, and you're completely prepared for him to do that one stupid thing the whole game. And then he just doesn't do that stupid thing, the thing that you were looking for the whole game, and then you lose because of it. Like he can adjust. It's like a slide. His gameplay is like a slider. He can just kind of put it to wherever he wants. He can turn the volume all the way up. He can give you some ambience, turn it kind of low. He can do literally whatever he wants. It's I think that also is a testament to his his experience. He knows how to get into the mind of the player better than any technical aspect you could tell him about the game. Like it's all about the people and how they defend against him.
Absolutely, 100%. All right, stay real chill. Let's talk about it, Mr. J. Let's break it down.
So this is a man who embodies the exact kind of a play style that you think somebody with the name Stay Real Chill is going to do. He very much likes to use movement to his advantage, create, whiff situations, plays very defensively, doesn't take a lot of risks. You see a lot of timeout situations against Stay Real Chill. Very much content with having some oppression put on him, but knows some of the finer points on when to start pressing buttons and take his turn back. Very good with punishment mentality, and just not a character player playing as a Kazumi recently started using Zafina, coming to his own there. This is not a player that you think is weak just because they're taking their time, picking shots. He will defend and properly punish some of your bigger, more risky moves that a lot of these characters in this particular group that are played by. That he's going to be able to see some things out of this. So no slouch in this group at all.
I always call Stay Real Chill Stay Real Korean because he plays like a Korean. He like we talked about the Detroit style, the Southeast Michigan style. He doesn't play like that at all. He is a turtle. He does not contest on defense, almost to his detriment, but he just refuses to take the risk. He will eat a mix-up because he's like the game theory of it's like, well, I can't get counter hit, so do your low. Go ahead. He'll dare you to do your low to him. And his only real problem with Chill, he's such a high-level player, but one, he doesn't like Tekken 7 that much, so I don't know how much he's been playing the game. And two, he's had an ongoing character crisis for all 3 years of the game, or 3.5 years of the game. Like he started on Dragunov, then Geese, Fang for a minute, back to Dragunov, Asuka. Now it's got Kazumi. I think Zafina's the perfect character for him. I hope he sticks with Zafina.
Chill is actually one of my personal homies. I've known him for pretty long in the community. Like he's one of the very, very first few people that I became befriended in the community. In every game that I've seen him play, he literally doesn't do anything. Like he just sits back. He just stays on the other side of the screen. He's like, oh, okay, you can kind of stay over there. Nope, stay over there. Don't come near me. This is my space. This is what I like to do. So leave me alone. I'm gonna do my thing over here. And you can kind of see, I've watched him play in tournament. His facial expression never changes at all.
He's a robot. He's not human.
He's just sitting there playing, and when he's truly in the zone, when he's playing at the peak of his gameplay, he is like Ultra Instinct is active. Like he's just his hands are moving on their own, and it's kind of scary. Like I remember watching him. I remember it was that Showdown Battle Royale tournament. I remember watching him play against L Train in grand finals, and now this is my teammate. So it's like. So I'm like, I know how hard he's been working to get better at the game, and for him to clutch out that win versus L Train was very exciting for me to see, because that was the Chill that I've been wanting forever. It's that perfect blend of he's maximizing his default playstyle, being the defensive player, but not letting L Train kind of do whatever he wants to him. So he's kind of bringing the fight to him as well. It's just when Chill is on. He could probably be the most dangerous player on this card when he's playing at his peak.
Yeah, he plays Zafina. He barely uses the stances. Like, bro, you picked a character with 3 stances and all you do is down forward 1. But the movement that she has complements his playstyle. It complements his playstyle.
It's not his fault you keep running into down 4.
Right.
But that's what I mean. Like, he's just what more do I have to do? He has a very minimalistic playstyle. Even when I was watching him play Drag, I recall when I see Dragunov players, these guys are going crazy. They're foaming at the mouth, while running 2 a million times, plus frame after plus frame after plus frame, just rush down, relentless. Chill's like, I'm gonna just let you whiff and then you'll die for it, and it works for him. He's really strong, and he also used to train a lot with what's my man's name, the lead player out of New York,
GM.
Yeah, GM. He used to play with GM a lot. So he has experience at the highest level of play. And I think him being kind of the antithesis of how Southeast Michigan plays is a very strong advantage to him, because a lot of players in our scene don't like to be lamed out. Like that's kind of like their kryptonite. And Chill is so cool with just we got 60 seconds on the clock. I'm gonna use every single one to my advantage.
He's not in a hurry, that's for sure. He's taking his sweet time. It still reminds me a little bit of Shadow. Doesn't play exactly like him, but he definitely has that same general approach to the game. Very defensive, very kind of a passive approach, but he lets you hang in yourself, and man, it's easy to do against him.
It's just the thing. He definitely thrives in the sort of, okay, you've made a mistake, and for many players, making the mistakes repeatedly um, causes some mental challenges to happen. Where you're frustrated, you start wondering, okay, well, why is this not working? Okay, well, I'm going to be more aggressive now, and he just thrives off of that. So really can be something that can play into great effect versus Uncle Caps. Azure's been more aggressive. Shinigami has a style that can be aggressive at times. So a very good fit to provide a challenge for everybody in this group.
But it's kind of everybody in this group. Like this group is actually insane. Uh, they're all insane. This might be the most insane group, just looking at it, because you've also got Shinigami. And Shinigami is another player who he's from Grand Rapids. He's kind of one of the big main people who win tournaments up there. Unfortunately, Gearx is out of state right now, so we couldn't get him to be in this. But we were able to get Shinigami in, and he's a Lee main. I think he only plays Lee. I've never seen him play anyone but Lee.
Yeah, he plays. Lee is his main, of course, but on stream he'll dabble with Drag. He'll dabble with Brian.
He's got a Violet, that's for sure.
Yeah, he'll dabble with Shaheen, right? But it's always
Shaheen.
At the end of
He
the
does
day,
play Shaheen as a secondary. Yeah, you're right.
Yep. It always comes down to Lee, though. He says himself, Lee is just the epitome of style for him, and he loves that. So it will always come down to Lee.
He's a
Shinigami.
true specialist. Lee Lock in tournament, almost certainly, and he plays a much more globally influenced style of Tekken than the players who came up in Southeast Michigan. He does a lot of keep out, down forward one. He likes to play very safe. He doesn't like to contest as much. He likes to move more. So it'll be interesting, especially having both him and Chill in the same group. You're going to have a lot of different styles. That's not to say he's a passive player. He actually can be quite aggressive. It's just his approach to the game is very different fundamentally from what you normally see in Southeast Michigan.
Well, Shinigami is one of those players who will. I think he's also one of the ones that he fits into the category of an athlete named group. Are you ready? Because he will do a move just to see how you react to it, and then once he figures out how you react to it, he's gonna go in. And I love, and of course it's true for all the players in this tournament. But one of the things I want to mention about Shinigami here, and I'll let the other guys take the reins. Is his IQ of what's happening around him and in the match. It's so keen, and he's able to take that data so quickly and apply it in match. It's just a treat to watch. And I remember the first time I saw him, it was on stream. I was watching a stream of Aurora Blitz, and he was facing high, and I was like, who is this Lee player? It's I don't know. It's poetry watching him play. So go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. J. What you think about Shinigami?
Shinigami definitely has a flow to him that is can be tough to adapt to, just because he changes the pace so often. Sometimes he'll press, and other times he will choose to stay back and really kind of tries to watch what you're doing and adapt to it to see if that same situation will come back and try to make you pay for it. Definitely not a slouch in the keep out game. He's very much a Lee specialist. I know he's used other characters in the past, but his capacity for first to two and long set play is definitely what's going to set him apart from many other players in this group. So not one of the players that you would look at and go, he's all right. He's actually got some skills to back up and pay all the bills.
I think he'll also be coming into this with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because he has been in Grand Rapids area for so long. He hasn't had as much of a chance to show what he can do against some of the best players in Southeast Michigan. And I remember Doom Danny made a Twitter post, which is always what gets Danny in trouble. He listed who he thought the 10 best players in Michigan were, and a ton of people from Middle Michigan and West Side of State were like, you gotta have Shinigami on this list. It's crazy that you don't have him on this list. He definitely should be on this list. Shinigami, I think, is going to come in here and say, I want to show I'm one of the best players. And so I expect that he will really push himself for this.
It's going to be good to see Shinigami. Let's talk about our last contestant for the King of Iron Mitten. This is Group D. 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 This is Senpai, relax. Let's take it away, Mr. J, please.
You know, my experience with Senpai Relax, similar to many of the other players, this is really just kind of encountering him in rack and watching his growth come as a player. Very much kind of operating, maybe not under the tutelage, but he's definitely had a lot of interactions and growth with Azure, and really seeing him come into his own with more than one character. He used to just play solely as Nina, and I'm sure he's had other characters in the past, but he's definitely expanded outward. We've seen him play Lars. He's dipped and dabbled into Kunimitsu. He's messed with quite a few characters and is a very solid player. He's definitely adept at closing the gap quickly, making crucial whiff punishes, throw breaks. So I'm very excited to see him again in this group. Are you ready? All of these players are going to have to be ready, Senpai Relax included.
What's funny thing about Senpai, people may not realize, when he first started coming out, he played like every female character in the game at almost the same level. He was a Nina main, but he had like every female character, and he actually told me like he knew a combo with every single character in the game, and he could play any character in the game and do about equally as well with them. And that actually is partly responsible for me trying to play too many characters. And what he's really done, he went from being this player who would party with whichever character he thought you didn't know to really focusing on his Nina and his Kunimitsu. And he really focused on specializing in those characters that he wanted to play and getting to a higher level of playing neutral and playing much safer and more intelligently. Like, he's leveled up so much. He went from being like a strong intermediate level player to being someone who places in these national online tournaments. He's beaten Azure Boca in tournament now multiple times, I think. So it's going to be really interesting to see him. And we also should talk about the money match. Maybe Grand Kai, you can get into that a little bit with him and Caps.
Oh, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know a whole lot about it. I just know it went down at the GFG event. I think it was for $100, and there's another one coming up too, isn't there?
I think there's going to be a rematch.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, it's funny because one cool thing about Senpai is that Senpai, much like Azure, he plays with all the top players. So he'll be on Cuddle stream, rocking it out with Cuddle. He'll be playing against other top players that are streaming at the time. And he's definitely coming into his own, and he's also highly intelligent. And I just love, I love the intelligence it takes to play Tekken, and Senpai definitely embodies that. And having Senpai and Caps, you are devious, Keith. Having them in this group is just going to be so awesome. These are going to be hype matches to see when that happens.
It's crazy that we got so many great rivalries. It just kind of worked out that way. I drew straws.
Dougie, any thoughts on the Senpai Relax, Dougie?
The Senpai Relax is the reason why I hate fighting Nina. It's just everything I hate about Nina. I remember like in my random adventures of trying to play this game, trying to learn, and I'm like, I post in the Discord like, hey, does anybody want to play? And Senpai's like, yeah, I'll play you. He just kind of just beats my ass like kind of ruthlessly, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. I don't like, even more so than Rodney sometimes. He's just he's just so ham. It's like, yo, leave me alone, relax. Like, I just want to learn how to play the game, and you're just abusing me. I don't like this. But no, he's definitely a strong player. He's definitely a room shaker. His experience with playing Azure all the time is definitely going to do him a lot of well, especially considering how strong Azure is. So I think Senpai Relax. I mean, if he plays as annoying as he normally does against me, I think he's in a really good position.
I mean, you could see it's not crazy to think in a 1-2 Senpai knocking Azure out early, and then all of a sudden Azure has to make up wins just to make top 8, and this division could just turn into just another. They're all bloodbaths. I keep saying it's all gonna be so close if just 1 or 2 games go a certain way. I could see a reality where neither Azure or Caps make top 8 from this, even though they're the top seeded. But I kind of expect that we will see Azure in top 8, much like I think we'll see High in top 8 and L Train and D-Town's King.
If there's any group that I expect to have some upsets in, it's this group.
Why is that?
Any one of the players in this group is capable of adapting and really changing the pace of a matchup between each other. They all have the capacity to beat each other. I mean, Azure is at the top of this list, but none of the 4 in this group have any sort of downsides that could play against them to that. They all have an equal chance of doing this and really escaping out of this group. But it is a group of death. Don't be mistaken about that.
I feel like they're all death groups, but this is, I mean, they're all death groups for different reasons. So let's do the impossible thing really quickly and just go around the room. Who do you think is going to win the whole thing? Pick one player.
Well, if you let me into the tournament, because I definitely did win a local, it probably would have been me.
let's go, Dougie.
I'm just kidding.
I'll let you know if we need an alternate, Dougie.
But I guess I'll go first. To win the whole thing, actually, so I wasn't unfortunately dealing with work. I got here a little bit late. I actually think Enoch has a lot of potential to take the whole thing. I didn't get in time to talk about him early enough, but he's every time I see him play, it's dominant. It's very dominating. Like it doesn't matter who I see him play. He's just so strong, and I personally think more than anybody else, he just looks ready at all times, no matter what, no matter who he plays. I can't see any flaws in his gameplay or anything. He's just so strong. I actually think Enoch has a lot of potential to take the entire thing.
You know, my heart wants to say Azure, but I have to go with what my brain is telling me with this. I'm going with High. High is my pick for this just because of his experience. He's got a lot of character knowledge. I mean, he coordinates a lot of these events. He's a wealth of just experience and like I said, of knowledge with the game. I think when he just kind of hunkers down and gets into this, he's really going to dominate a lot of the players in this tournament.
All right. I'm just gonna go for it, man. I'm go for the gusto. I think Azure's gonna take it, man. I think he's gonna come up on top. I mean, we've seen the situations, we've seen his performances happening recently in ICFC. I mean, you're talking about top competition in the U.S. consistently making since he's competed, consistently making top 8. Getting out of those pools and just competing at that level. So my pick for this tournament is going to be Azure.
If this was an offline event, I would pick D-Town's King, but I know that he does not like playing online because he's an old man who plays from the arcade era. But I'm actually going to pick outside the box. I think L Train is who I will say for winning this. And my reason is that when he doesn't have to deal with random players, when he only has to deal with players who play at a higher level and logically, he tends to do very well. Also, in top 8, we switched to first to 3, and then grand finals becomes first to 5. And the longer it goes, L Train is a very strong long set player. So I think if he can survive the group stage and get to top 8, and if he finds himself in winners finals, it's going to be really hard for anyone to unseat him.
Hey, I respect that. So, I mean, I'll let you have the final say, but this has been the prediction and analysis breakdown show for the King of Iron Mitten tournament going down on May 15th is when all the action starts, and I'm going to pass it to Keith B as we close this show out. Thank y'all for rocking with us. Thank you for listening, and man, Keith, let them know where they can find this tournament, where they can tune in, and let's take them here.
May 14th, 15th, and 16th. So it's going to kick off on Friday, May 14th at 6 p.m. with Group A. It's going to be on twitch.tv /Haitaki Kakashi. It's taking the place of Kai's normal Friday night fight stream. Then we'll be back Saturday at 12 p.m. on twitch.tv /Azure Bokeh, doing Group C and B. And then top 8 will be Sunday, the 16th at 1 p.m. back on High Stream at twitch.tv. Itaki Kakashi. Grand Kai, thank you so much for hosting this. Thank you, Dougie and Mr. J, for joining us. And
Thank you for having me.
I hope some people get to tune in and see some good-ass Michigan Tekken.